My name is Hazel Kincaid. I'm 27 years old. 2 months after I got out of the hospital, my older sister sat across from me at my own kitchen table, slid a piece of paper toward me, and said, "Just sign it. You don't need the money anymore. You need to heal." The paper was a power of attorney giving her full control of my $67,000 medical malpractice settlement. I looked at it. I looked at her. I picked up my coffee mug and took a slow sip. "Okay," I said. "Let me read it first." She smiled. My brother-in-law smiled. My mom, sitting at the end of the table, exhaled like she'd been holding her breath for an hour. None of them knew my phone had been recording from inside my cardigan pocket since the moment I unlocked my front door. That was their first mistake. And their last. Let me go back to the beginning. 14 months ago, I was a healthy 26-year-old working as a dental hygienist in Raleigh, North Carolina. I had my own apartment, a 2019 Honda Civic, and a savings account I was actually proud of. I was the kind of person who meal prepped on Sundays and kept a running spreadsheet of her monthly expenses. Not exciting, but mine. All of it mine. On March 4th, I went to an outpatient clinic for a routine endoscopy. I'd had some reflux issues for months. My primary care doctor referred me. It was supposed to take 40 minutes. I was supposed to drive myself home. What happened instead is that the anesthesiologist administered the wrong dosage for my weight. I went into respiratory distress on the table. By the time the clinic staff realized what was happening, I had been without adequate oxygen for somewhere between 4 and 6 minutes. I woke up in a hospital bed 3 days later with my sister standing over me, crying. "We thought we were going to lose you," she said. That was the last time she cried for me. The medical team ran tests for 2 weeks. The oxygen deprivation had caused what they called mild anoxic brain injury, not severe, not permanent in the way I feared, but real. I had short-term memory gaps, fatigue that hit like a wall, and processing delays that made it hard to work the way I used to. Dr. Alicia Brenner, my neurologist at WakeMed, was honest with me. "You will likely recover most function over 12 to 18 months, she said. "But your brain needs time, and you should not be making high-pressure decisions in the first 6 months." I wrote that down. My sister was there for that appointment. She wrote it down too. The malpractice claim was straightforward. The clinic's anesthesiologist had documented my weight incorrectly. There was no dispute. Their insurance reached out within 6 weeks. By the end of May, I had a settlement offer, $67,000. My attorney, whom I had found myself through a referral from a coworker, advised me to accept. "Given the documented injury and your recovery trajectory, this is fair," he said. "You could fight for more, but it would take years." I accepted. The settlement letter arrived at my apartment on a Tuesday. My sister called me that Thursday. "Mom mentioned you got a letter from the insurance company," she said. I hadn't told my mom. My mom had been stopping by my apartment twice a week since the hospital. She had a spare key. She must have seen it on the counter. "It's just paperwork," I said. "Hazel." Her voice shifted. That voice. I'd known that voice my whole life. The one that meant she was already 3 steps ahead. $67,000 is a lot of money. You need to be careful. You're not yourself right now. "I'm fine," I said. "The doctor said you have memory issues. You could be taken advantage of. We should talk about this as a family." I said okay. I said I'd think about it. When I graduated, was open Google and searched North Carolina one-party consent recording law. The answer came back. North Carolina is a one-party consent state. You may legally record any conversation you are a participant in without notifying the other parties. I downloaded a voice memo app. I tested it in my kitchen. I played it back and listened to my own voice, a little rougher than it used to be, saying, "Testing. This is Hazel Kincaid. If you're listening to this, I was protecting myself." I saved the file to my Google Drive. I created a backup on Dropbox. I texted my coworker Jenna and told her I had something I might need her to hold on to someday, and she said, without asking a single question, "Whatever you need." Jenna has been my best friend since dental hygiene school. She knew my family. She knew my sister. That was May 28th. The family conversation my sister wanted happened June 4th at my mom's house in Cary. My sister and her husband Trevor drove over from Durham. My mom made pot roast, which she always makes when she wants something to feel normal when it isn't. I got there early. I sat at the kitchen table while my mom was still at the stove. I set my phone on my thigh, screen down, app open, recording. "How are you feeling, honey?" my mom asked. "Good," I said. "Better." She didn't turn around. "Your sister is just worried. You know how she gets." What she meant was, "Your sister is always right." What she meant was, "Let her handle it." My sister arrived at 6. Trevor held the door for her like she was making an entrance. He does that. She walked in, hugged me carefully, the way you hug someone who might break, and then sat down across from me and folded her hands on the table. "We need to talk about the settlement," she said. "No warm-up." "I figured," I said. "Mom and I talked, and Trevor." She nodded at him. He nodded back. "And Trevor." She nodded at him. He nodded back. "We think you need someone managing this money on your behalf. Just temporarily, until you're fully recovered." "Who would manage it?" I asked. "Me," she said. Like it was obvious. "Why?" "Because you had a brain injury, Hazel. You can't trust your own judgment right now. The doctor said so." Dr. Brenner said I should avoid high-pressure decisions. She didn't say I needed a financial guardian. It's basically the same thing. It wasn't. But I didn't say that. My mom set the pot roast on the table and sat down. "Sweetheart," she said, "your sister has your best interests at heart. She has a financial background. My sister works as a bookkeeper for a landscaping company in Durham. I love her, or I used to. But I want you to understand what financial background meant in that sentence." "I'll think about it," I said. Trevor cleared his throat. "There's also the matter of the vacation property." I looked at him. "We've been looking at a cabin near Boone," my sister said smoothly, like she'd rehearsed the transition. "It would be a family investment. We'd all benefit. You'd have somewhere to recover, somewhere peaceful, somewhere—" "You want to use my settlement money to buy a vacation cabin," I said. "A family investment," she repeated. I ate my pot roast. I said I needed time. Recording number 1. 41 minutes. Saved and backed up before I pulled out of my mom's driveway. The next 2 weeks, I listened. I started noticing things I'd been too foggy or too trusting to notice before. My sister called my mom every day. My mom relayed the calls back to me accidentally in pieces. "Your sister thinks you should let her handle the bank stuff. Your sister says your attorney might not be looking out for your best interests. Your sister is just so worried about you, Hazel. She cries sometimes." I doubted that. On June 14th, I was at my mom's again, upstairs, supposedly resting. My mom and my sister were in the kitchen. I had my phone. I recorded through the heating vent. "She's not going to agree," my mom said. "You know how stubborn she is." "She'll agree," my sister said. "She's scared. She doesn't know what to do with that much money. I just have to make her feel like she can't handle it alone. And the cabin. We'll present it as therapy. Rest, nature, recovery. She won't see the financial piece if we frame it right." Pause. "What if she talks to someone?" my mom asked. "A friend? Her friends don't know anything about finance. And she's been so isolated since the hospital. She barely sees anyone. She's vulnerable right now, Mom. We just have to be patient." I lay on my mom's guest bed and stared at the water stain on the ceiling for a long time after that. Recording number 2. 18 minutes. On June 16th, I drove to downtown Raleigh and met with my attorney, Paul Nakamura. I'd already told him I wanted the settlement deposited into a new account my sister didn't know about. He'd helped me set it up at a different bank, a credit union in Garner, 20 minutes from my apartment. My sister knew about my Wells Fargo account. She did not know about the credit union. "She's going to ask you to sign financial documents," Paul said. "Don't sign anything without calling me first." She already brought up a power of attorney. He looked at me carefully. "Did you sign it?" "No." "Good. Don't." He paused. "Hazel, what your sister is describing is financial exploitation. In North Carolina, that is actionable under general statute, 14-112.2. Financial exploitation of a disabled adult. The settlement injury qualifies you. She's my family, I said, not defending her. Just stating the fact, so I could hear it out loud, so I could feel how much weight it had. I know, he said. That's what makes it harder. It doesn't make it less of a crime. I went home and sat in my car in the parking lot for 20 minutes before I went inside. The next step was the one I was most afraid of. I called my neighbor, an older woman named Mrs. Birdie Fowler, who lived in the unit below mine, 73 years old, retired schoolteacher, sharp as anyone I've ever met. She'd brought me soup twice after the hospital and never once asked me what was wrong, just set it on my counter and said, "You don't have to talk. I just didn't want you eating cereal for every meal." "Mrs. Fowler," I said when she answered, "I need to ask you something strange." "Strange is fine," she said. "I've been around long enough. Have you ever heard things through the ceiling from my apartment?" Pause. "Sometimes," she said carefully. "My family comes over a lot. My sister and my mom. Have you ever heard the things they say to me?" Another pause. "Enough," she said. "If I needed someone to testify about the things they've said when they thought no one was listening, would you be willing to do that?" She didn't hesitate. "Yes. I'm 73 and retired. I have absolutely nowhere to be." I thanked her. She told me to eat something other than cereal. I also reached out to Dr. Brenner's office and asked about a formal cognitive evaluation. Her nurse said the doctor would actually recommend one for my own protection. I went in on June 20th. 2 hours of tests, memory exercises, pattern recognition, executive function assessments, the works. At the end, Dr. Brenner looked at my results and said, "Your recovery is progressing well ahead of schedule. Whoever is suggesting you're cognitively impaired is wrong. Could you put that in writing? I'll have a formal report ready by the end of the week." I picked it up on June 24th. Official letterhead. Language that would hold up in court. Patient demonstrates no evidence of significant cognitive impairment. Executive function, memory, and decision-making capacity are within normal range. Patient is fully capable of managing her own affairs. I put it in a folder. The folder went in a fireproof box under my bed. Then I waited. July 2nd. My sister called and asked if she could come over. "I have something I want to show you," she said. "Something that might help." "Sure," I said. She arrived at 7 that evening with Trevor and the paperwork. 2 documents, the power of attorney, and a second document I hadn't seen before, a co-ownership agreement for a property in Watauga County near Boone. The purchase price listed was $62,000. $62,000 of my $67,000 settlement. She set both papers on my kitchen table. "I had a lawyer draft these," she said. "Everything's legitimate. You'd still be part owner of the cabin. It would be in both our names." "What happens to the money I'd need for my ongoing care?" I asked. "PT, neurologist appointments. I'm not back at work full-time yet." "You have health insurance," she said. "My short-term disability ran out in May." "We'd help you out," Trevor said. Like it was simple. "You'd help me out," I repeated. "We're family," my sister said. "That's what family does." I looked at both papers for a long moment. "Okay," I said. "Let me read these carefully before I sign anything." She exhaled. Trevor leaned back in his chair. My mom, who had come too, folded her hands in her lap. "Take your time," my sister said. She was already smiling. "I want to read every page," I said. "Of course. And I'll probably want to have my attorney look at them." The smile stayed on her face, but something changed behind her eyes. "You don't need an attorney," she said. "This isn't adversarial. This is family." "I know," I said. "I just want to be careful. You know how I am." I set the papers down. "Can I keep these overnight?" She said yes. I walked them both to the door. When I came back, I photographed every page, sent the photos to Paul, sent copies to Jenna, sent a copy to Mrs. Fowler, who had a printer just in case. Recording from that evening, 47 minutes. All of it. The next morning, July 3rd, Paul called me at 8:30. "Hazel," he said, This co-ownership agreement gives her the right to buy out your share for 30 days after any dispute at a fixed rate of $10,000. Meaning she buys a $62,000 cabin with your money, puts both your names on it, and then if you ever argue about it, she can pay you $10,000 to take you off the deed. She walks away with a $52,000 asset. I sat down on my kitchen floor. I don't know why the floor. It just felt like the right place to be when things are that bad. What do I do? I asked. Nothing yet, he said. Keep recording. She's going to escalate when you don't sign. He was right. July 7th. My sister showed up unannounced. I hadn't called her back since the meeting. She knocked 4 times. I opened the door. Have you thought about it? She asked. I'm still reviewing, I said. Hazel, her voice dropped. I don't think you understand what could happen to you if you try to manage this money yourself. You made a mistake last month, didn't you? With the electric bill? I had paid my electric bill twice. A brain fog mistake. I'd caught it immediately and gotten a credit. That was a minor error, I said. I caught it myself. You're not stable, she said. You know that. The doctor said I'm recovering well. Her jaw tightened. I'm trying to protect you. I know, I said. I appreciate it. I just want to be careful. She left. Recording number 5. 12 minutes. July 10th. I got a call from Dr. Brenner's receptionist. My sister had called the office requesting access to my medical records. She'd told the receptionist I had serious ongoing cognitive deficits and that she was coordinating my care. Dr. Brenner called me personally. I didn't release anything, she said. HIPAA prohibits it without your written consent. But Hazel, she mentioned something about looking into legal guardianship. Guardianship. My stomach dropped. Can you document that call? I asked. Already done, Dr. Dumean? Brenner said. Time-stamped. I documented the exact language she used, including the phrase, she can't be trusted to make her own decisions. I documented it because it concerned me. Thank you. I want you to know something, Dr. Brenner said. I've evaluated hundreds of patients post-neurological events. Your trajectory is one of the best I've seen. If anyone questions your capacity, I will say that under oath. July 15th. Certified mail. Petition for limited guardianship of person and estate. Filed in Wake County Superior Court. Case number 23 SP 2847. Petitioner my sister. Respondent, me. I read the affidavit 3 times. She'd listed 5 incidents of cognitive impairment. June 3rd. Left stove on unattended for over an hour. June 11th. Missed 2 consecutive medical appointments without explanation. June 22nd. Became confused and disoriented during a phone call, unable to recall previous conversation. June 28th. Drove to wrong location, called crying, unable to navigate home. July 1st. Failed to recognize importance of legal documents, required repeated explanations. None of it happened. June 3rd. I was at Jenna's apartment from 4 in the afternoon until 9 at night. She'd posted photos on Instagram. Time-stamped. June 11th. I had not missed any appointments. My patient portal showed every check-in. Every one. June 22nd. I had a recording of a phone call with my sister from that date. I was perfectly coherent. She was the one who kept repeating herself. June 28th. I was at physical therapy. The PT clinic had a sign-in sheet. July 1st. I'd taken photos of the documents the moment she left and texted them to Paul within 4 minutes of her walking out. Clear, analytical questions about specific clauses. Not confused. Documenting. She had fabricated every single one. I called Paul immediately. She lied, I said. All 5 incidents. I have proof for every one. I know, he said. His voice was steady. And now we use it. Here's what I need you to do. He told me to keep recording. To keep going to my appointments. To document everything. Every interaction. Every phone call. Every visit. To be calm and cooperative with everyone, including my family, for the next 4 weeks until the hearing. Can you do that? He asked. Yes, I said. Then we're going to be okay. July 18th. Court-ordered psychological evaluation. Dr. Marcus Webb, neuropsychologist affiliated with UNC Health. 3 hours of testing. Memory, processing speed, problem solving, executive function. At the end, he said, "Tell me why you think your sister filed this petition." "She wants control of my settlement money," I said. "She told me the doctor said I couldn't trust my own judgment." She presented it as protection. It wasn't. "Do you have evidence of that?" 14 recordings, I said. He wrote something down. Then he looked up. "Off the record, you are one of the sharpest people I've tested this month. Your sister's going to have a very hard time convincing a judge otherwise." His formal report arrived August 5th. Comprehensive neuropsychological evaluation reveals no evidence of significant cognitive impairment or diminished capacity to manage personal or financial affairs. Respondent demonstrates above-average executive function, intact memory, and sound judgment. No basis for guardianship is identified. Furthermore, respondent has presented documentation suggesting petitioner's motivation may be financial rather than protective in nature. This examiner recommends the petition be denied. Paul texted me after he received it. "We have everything we need." August came. My sister escalated. She started calling twice a day. When I didn't answer, she called my mom and had my mom call me. The messages started shifting. First, "We're just worried," then "You're making this so hard." Then, on August 8th, a voicemail that made my hands go cold. "You think you're so smart, you always thought you were so smart. You're going to regret this. You're going to end up alone in that apartment with nothing, and don't come to me when you realize you can't manage your own life. You had a brain injury, Hazel. That's a fact, and no amount of recording things is going to change the fact that you are not the same person you were before." I saved it. Recording number 11. "She didn't know I'd been recording since May. She didn't know I'd been recording since May. She didn't know about the evaluation. She didn't know about Mrs. Fowler or Jenna or Paul or the fireproof box." August 14th. I got a Facebook message from a woman named Audrey Callahan. She said she used to work with my sister at her previous job, a small accounting firm in Wake Forest. She said she left because of my sister. She said she had emails. "I heard through a mutual friend you're having some trouble," she wrote. "I don't know if this helps, but your sister once told me, when she found out her mother-in-law had a life insurance policy, that she wished she had a family member who was just fragile enough to need help managing things." Her words. "I didn't think much of it at the time. I do now. I'm sorry I didn't say something sooner." She attached 3 emails. My sister, discussing with a friend the possibility of taking a more active role in a family member's estate after my accident, dated April of that year, before I'd even been discharged. I forwarded everything to Paul. "This is premeditation," he said. "She was planning this before you even left the hospital." August 19th. My brother-in-law Trevor texted me out of nowhere. "Hey, I want you to know I think this has gone too far." I told her to drop it. She wouldn't listen to me. "I'm sorry." I didn't reply. I forwarded the text to Paul. I didn't trust Trevor, but I noted it. August 22nd. Pre-hearing meeting with Paul. We organized everything on his conference table. 14 recordings. Dr. Webb's evaluation. Dr. Brenner's HIPAA violation. Dr. Brenner's HIPAA violation documentation and testimony. Offer. The disproven affidavit incidents, with counter-evidence for each. Jenna's Instagram timestamps. PT attendance records. Patient portal check-ins. Mrs. Fowler's written statement. The Audrey Callahan emails. Trevor's text. "They're going to hear themselves," Paul said. "Are you ready for that?" "I've been ready since July 15th, I said. August 28th. Wake County Superior Court. Courtroom 4A. 9 in the morning. Present, me, Paul, my sister, her attorney, my mom. The judge was the Honorable Diana Cole. Mrs. Fowler was in the gallery. Jenna was in the gallery. I'd ask them both to come, not to testify, just to be there. Sometimes you need people to witness things. Judge Cole reviewed the file. She noted Dr. Webb's report immediately. She looked at my sister's attorney. The court-ordered evaluation found no basis for guardianship. Does your client wish to withdraw the petition? My sister's attorney glanced at her. My sister shook her head. We maintain the petition, Your Honor. Paul stood. Your Honor, with the court's permission, I'd like to present evidence that this petition is not only without merit, but was motivated by financial exploitation. Proceed. He opened his laptop. He said, "This is a recording from July 2nd of this year. The respondent, Hazel Kincaid, recorded this conversation in her own home, legally under North Carolina's one-party consent statute." He played 8 minutes. The key parts. My sister's voice explaining the co-ownership agreement. Trevor saying, "We'd help you out." My sister saying, "You're not stable." The moment where she said, "I'm trying to protect you," and I said, "I know." The room was quiet when it ended. Judge Cole looked at my sister. "Is that your voice, Ms. Kincaid?" My sister's full name is Bethany Kincaid Torres. She goes by Bethany. "That was taken out of context," Bethany said. "We were having a family conversation. Your attorney may wish to advise you to be careful about what you say next," Judge Cole said. Her tone was not unkind. It was something else. Paul played the recording from June 14th. My sister's voice through the vent. "She's vulnerable right now. I just have to make her feel like she can't handle it alone." Bethany's attorney shifted in his seat. Paul played August 8th. The voicemail. "You think you're so smart. You're going to end up alone in that apartment with nothing." The room was very quiet for a long time. Judge Cole looked at her notes. "Miss Kincaid, this voicemail was left 3 weeks ago, while you were petitioning this court to protect your sister because of your deep concern for her well-being." Bethany said nothing. "I'm going to take a 15-minute recess," Judge Cole said. "Ms. Torres, I strongly suggest you speak with your attorney before we reconvene." In the hallway, Paul asked me how I was doing. "Fine," I said. And I meant it. I was completely fine. I had stopped being afraid of this moment months ago. When we came back in, Bethany's attorney stood. "Your Honor, after consultation with my client, the petitioner wishes to withdraw the petition for guardianship." "Noted," said Judge Cole. "However, I am not finished." She looked at the full file in front of her. The affidavit submitted in support of this petition contained 5 specific claims about the respondent's cognitive functioning. The respondent has provided documentary evidence disproving all 5. Medical records, attendance logs, time-stamped communications. She paused. "That is perjury under North Carolina General Statute 14 and 2000. I am referring this matter to the Wake County District Attorney's Office." Bethany's face went white. "I am also referring this matter to Adult Protective Services for investigation into financial exploitation of an injured adult." Paul presented our counter-evidence for each fabricated claim. The judge reviewed it without comment. When he finished, she looked at Bethany one more time. "This court finds no basis for guardianship. Petition denied. Referral stand." She looked at me. "Ms. Kincaid, you experienced a serious medical injury, and then your own family attempted to use that injury against you. You documented everything, clearly and calmly, over a period of months. That is not the behavior of someone who cannot manage her own affairs." She paused. "I wish you well in your recovery." "Thank you, Your Honor," I said. Outside, Mrs. Fowler squeezed my hand. Jenna hugged me so hard I laughed. My mom was still inside. I didn't wait for her. In the parking lot, Bethany and Trevor walked out and got in their car without looking at me. Not a word. Just got in and drove away. I stood in the sun for a minute. Just stood there. Then I drove to the credit union in Garner, and I watched my settlement money sitting exactly where I had put it, untouched, all $67,000, and I opened a high-yield savings account. My mom called that evening. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. "Hazel, I hope you're happy. You've destroyed this family. Your sister was trying to help you, and you turned it into a war." Recording number 15. I texted back, "I'm going to need some time before we talk." She didn't respond. 3 weeks later, September 18th. Paul called me. The DA reviewed the perjury referral. He paused. "They declined to prosecute. Family matter. No financial harm occurred since the settlement was never transferred. I sat with that for a while. The APS investigation? Closed. Same reasoning. But it's on record. If she ever tries this again with anyone, the documentation surfaces. I thanked him and hung up and made a cup of coffee and sat at my kitchen table for a long time. Some people think this kind of story ends with a courtroom vindication and then everything is fine. It doesn't. The DA doesn't file charges. Your mom leaves you a voicemail saying you destroyed the family. The justice you get is quiet and partial, and you have to decide if it's enough. I decided it was enough. October came. I went back to work full-time at the dental office. My patients asked where I'd been. I said I'd had a medical situation and I was better now. They said they'd missed me. I said I'd miss them too, and I meant it, the small, ordinary, safe routine of it. October 14th. My mom sent a text. I've been thinking. I know things got out of hand. I'm not sure everything your sister did was right. Can we have dinner? I read it 4 times. Then I wrote back. I'm glad you're thinking about it. I need a few more months. I'll reach out when I'm ready. She said. Okay. November. I found a therapist named Dr. Ingram, a soft-spoken woman with an office near Cameron Village who specialized in family trauma. In our first session, she said, "Tell me what happened." I talked for 50 minutes without stopping. She didn't interrupt once. At the end, she said, "You did a remarkable job protecting yourself. Now let's figure out what it costs you to have needed to do that." That was the harder work. I used some of the settlement money to pay off the remaining balance on my car, $1,200. Done. Then I put $30,000 in a CD, locked for 2 years. The rest I kept liquid in the high-yield savings, for the PT appointments, the neurologist follow-ups, and the months I'd worked reduced hours. My sister never contacted me. Not once after the hearing. Her attorney sent a formal letter in October confirming all outstanding legal matters were resolved. I filed it in the box. November 20th. My physical therapist cleared me. Full recovery, no lasting deficit. I walked out into the parking lot and sat in my car and cried. The good kind. The kind that has nowhere to come from except relief so large it doesn't fit inside you. That night I texted Jenna, "I'm okay." Like, actually okay. She sent back 17 emojis and a voice note of herself screaming into a pillow. I listened to it 3 times. December came and went. I spent Christmas with Jenna's family. Her mom made tamales and her dad fell asleep in the recliner before 9, and her nieces ran around the house, knocking things over. It was loud and warm and completely ordinary. January. I called my mom. We had coffee at a bakery in North Hills, just the 2 of us, on a Tuesday afternoon. She looked smaller than I remembered. She said she was sorry. She said she hadn't known how far Bethany had taken it until she heard the recordings at the hearing. She said she should have protected me and she didn't, and she was sorry. I believed the sorry. I was less sure about the should have. There are some things you can't unknow about a person once you know them. But she was my mom. And she was sitting across from me trying. That was something. "I need you to understand something," I said. "If anything like this ever happens again, I will not wait. I will document it immediately and I will protect myself without apologizing for it." "I know," she said. "I know you will." She didn't say it like a criticism. She said it like she understood, finally, who I was. "Okay," I said. "Then let's try." We finished our coffee. She paid. We hugged in the parking lot. I drove home. There is no version of the story where everything is fine. My sister is somewhere in Durham and I don't know what she's doing and I've stopped trying to find out. My relationship with my mom is a careful, slow thing, like a plant you're trying to grow in bad soil. Some weeks are better than others. What I have is this: my own apartment, my own money, my own name on my own account. I have Jenna and Mrs. Fowler and Dr. Ingram and Thursdays at the dental office. I have a leg that works, and a brain that works, and a voice memo app that I still keep on my phone, not because I'm afraid, but because I know now that the most important thing I ever did for myself was decide that my own word wasn't enough. Not in a world where people who love you will look you in the eye and lie. I decided to have proof. They thought I was fragile. They thought the injury made me easy. They had no idea that the moment I heard my sister's voice, through that hospital vent, something in me went very still and very clear, and I made a decision. I was going to document everything. I was going to be patient. I was going to be patient. I was going to let them show me exactly who they were, and then I was going to let the recordings do the talking. My name is Hazel Kincaid. I'm 27 years old. I had a brain injury, and I healed, and my family tried to use the time it took me to do that against me. They thought quiet meant helpless. They thought agreeable meant weak. They thought okay meant yes. It didn't. It meant, I'm recording this. That was the last thing they expected, and the first thing I knew. People ask me sometimes if I feel guilty. About the recordings. About taking it as far as I did. About the fact that my sister lost her job, got a perjury referral, and hasn't spoken to me since. And I think about that question seriously every time, because I don't want to be someone who doesn't. But I don't. I really don't. Here's what I've come to understand. Not from a book or a therapist or anything anyone told me, but just from sitting with it long enough. What happened to me wasn't bad luck. It was a chain. My sister saw an opening, my injury, my fog, my fear, and she made a choice. Then she made another choice. Then another. Every step of the way she could have stopped. She chose not to. And every step of the way I could have given up, signed the paper, told myself it was easier. I chose not to either. That's the whole story, really. Two people making choices, and the choices compounding until the consequences arrived for both of us. I think about the version of me who didn't search that recording law, who didn't save the first file to the cloud, who didn't sit in my car in the credit union parking lot and open a new account my sister didn't know about. That version of me would have signed the power of attorney. Maybe not that night, but eventually, because I was tired and scared, and I wanted to believe that my family meant well, even when the evidence was telling me otherwise. That version of me would have lost $67,000 and called it family. What saved me wasn't bravery. I want to be clear about that, because I don't think I was particularly brave. What saved me was a decision to pay attention, to take what I was seeing seriously instead of explaining it away. That's a different thing than courage. It's closer to honesty. You have to be willing to look at what's actually in front of you, even when what's in front of you is someone you love showing you who they really are. Bethany is smart. She had a plan. She had documents. She had a story ready for a judge. What she didn't account for was that I was paying attention, that I was writing things down, that every time she walked out of my apartment, I was already sending files to 3 different places. Intelligence used against someone only works if they don't see it coming. I saw it coming because I stopped making excuses for what I was seeing. And Jenna. I think about Jenna a lot. The way she said whatever you need without a single follow-up question. Mrs. Fowler and her soup and her 73 years of having nowhere to be. Paul laying everything out on his conference table like it was a puzzle we were going to solve together, which it was. Those people didn't save me either. But they reminded me that I wasn't wrong to protect myself. Sometimes that's what you need most. Not rescue. Just confirmation that what you're seeing is real. I'm 27, I have my own apartment, my own savings, my own name on my own account. I have a brain that works, and a leg that works, and Thursdays at the dental office. It's not a dramatic ending. It's just my life, intact, which is the only thing I ever wanted. If you've ever been told that your judgment can't be trusted by someone who needed you not to trust it, pay attention to that. The people who benefit from your self-doubt are usually the ones manufacturing it. You don't have to be fearless. You just have to be honest about what you're seeing. And maybe keep your phone charged.